Hey, okay. So we are in
Hey.
this series called We Don't Talk About. We're guys, if you guys know that, that's so great. I'm so glad you guys pay attention, okay? Because it's basically about, guys, what's the song again? It's like, we don't talk about Bruno. Yep, that's it. And guys, we are addressing topics that you guys actually sent in, the questions you guys sent us. And guys, guess what? Today, we are going to hit every single question, or hopefully every single question that you sent us in, the things that you really, really want us to know. And as Foster said, we assembled like the Avenger squad of wisdom, okay? This is all of them right here, okay?
Oh, wait, the move that she does. That's Spider-Man.
That's Spider-Man.
No, Black Widow does that. So they make fun of her.
Oh, yeah, because he's like, superhero pose. That was a great Russian impersonation.
All right, moving on.
All right, so let's get into this. And because actually, I'm kind of curious to hear what their responses are to these questions, too. So I say we just get right into the juicy stuff, okay?
Oh, right in.
Yeah, let's get right into this. So, guys, can guys and girls be friends?
Ooh.
Wait, they said no. I want to hear their answer on why they said no.
They said no.
Before we answer that.
Who said no? No?
Ooh, you guys, Kate has an answer.
Maybe
All
you
right.
guys should be on the panel.
Kate, take it away.
All right, thank you for asking. So in terms of life right now in middle school and as you guys move on to high school, I think having friends of the opposite gender is a great idea. That's where you learn in a friendship arena, nothing more, okay? But with that absolute idea of just being friends, you learn how the opposite gender works, how like they're wired. Boys, just so you know, are different than girls. I don't care what culture tells you. The Lord made us very different.
Amen.
And so to be able to start learning that now so that when the time comes where you are looking for a, what are those called? Spouses? I don't want to say partner. Anyway, where you find your person that you match with for the rest of your life and you make that commitment with, you are making an educated decision based on the other people that you've been in contact with. But here's the thing is once you start dating and you are exclusive, having an opposite gender best friend is off the table. Because once you get married, it is so detrimental to your relationship with your spouse to have an opposite gendered best friend. So why would you build that into your relationship while you're dating? You're just gonna get jacked. You're just gonna get distracted. And it's super not worth it. So having a bunch of friends that are different genders is brilliant. But there does come a time where you need to limit that and say, I'm not investing in other people that are of the opposite gender.
Well, I guess it would come down to best friends are off the table, friends are okay. Because I don't think you should ever be a best friend with some of the opposite sex. That's a stupid idea.
Tell us why.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, why?
Why?
Because first of all, if you have a best friend of the opposite sex right now, why? Like my best friend's been my best friend since third grade. So it's not like your best friends, they can change, but you wouldn't get somebody to be a best friend hoping it's going to change. And so those relationships that would be one reason, but another reason would be is that the opposite sex gender can't really give you the advice you need, can't really be the one that's going to walk through life with you because they don't know you. And so you need to be developing right now best friends of the same sex that are, or same gender, that are also mature and people that are going to be somebody you can rely on. But yeah, it's more for the future. So I don't think you should start having a best friend that's opposite sex. I think it's a waste of your time, is what I would say. But could be wrong. Taylor, you disagree?
No, I don't
okay.
disagree. I was just asking for why, because you were so like, that's stupid. So I just
yeah.
wanted them to know
Yeah.
why.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I was just making sure you weren't like...
Yeah, someone said over here.
Disagree.
Someone said over here that like guys and girls who are best friends, someone's going to end up liking the other person
Well,
of the
they
opposite
normally
gender.
that's
They
what
typically
does it.
do, yeah.
That's why. And you guys are like, nuh-uh, and that's always someone isn't
And
willing to
I,
admit
it's
it.
true.
I think it defines like also like what friends mean. Like my best friend is my husband because I'm married to him. But these three guys here, they're my friends, but I don't talk to them about deep things in my marriage. I don't tell them like we don't spend one-on-one time and coffee together. That would be like inappropriate. That's stuff that I do with my best friend, my husband, and with my girlfriends. But I don't do that with them because they're boys, and that wouldn't be appropriate. So, be weird.
Yeah,
Be really weird.
us guys, we get coffee one-on-one.
Coffee one-on-one.
time.
That's our thing. Coffee
I don't
one-on-one.
even. Okay, I also don't just go play video games with them at their house, just one-on-one. That's not appropriate. So
All the video game dates. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
How
they
many
can do
collective
that.
video game dates do us three have?
0. The same amount of girl best friends we have.
Good job. All right, let's move
Well,
on.
I have a girl best friend now that I'm married.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aww.
Emma?
There's no need to show off right now. There's no need to show off.
It's my
okay?
wife. All
Well,
right.
hey, speaking of friendship, you guys, what are those like top qualities you look for in a friend?
Yeah, I'm gonna move closer to you.
Okay. I would say number one, I want someone that I can trust and they actually care about me. Would be a top one, I would say.
When you say care about you, can you go into more about that?
They put how I'm living, who I want to be as a top priority in their life because they're going to hold me accountable. They want to see me succeed in life. That's what I would say.
I would even add that if they're good enough friends and they want you to succeed, that means they'll have hard conversations with you.
Yeah.
They'll put your relationship on the line by telling you things that you don't want to hear. So,
Yeah, and that sucks. Like,
Yeah.
but then you realize you need that, you know.
yeah, but that's a maturity thing. If you have friends that tell you things like that you don't like, your choice to like evaluate that and know that it's for your good, that's a maturity level that you attain on purpose. Or you can just be super feelery and whiny and be like, they don't like anything I do. Yeah, well, that's probably not what's going on. So get over yourself.
I've heard the quote, like, you're the average of the 5 people closest to you. So if you look at the 5 people closest in your life, you're the average of them. And so look at your friends around you. Like, do you want to be like them? Do you want to have qualities like them? Because the people you hang out with, like, their qualities, what they're like, they rub off on you. And so as a Christian, it's really important that the people that are closest to you in your life, speaking into your life, that they're a Christian also.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that you shouldn't have non-Christian friends at all. You should definitely have non-Christian friends. You get to be a light to them and you get to walk with them. But the people that are closest to you, going to call you out, pour into you, that you're going to be like, you should see, like, what is their relationship like with the Lord as well. So that's important.
No, and I think there comes a point, like, I don't know, a lot of my friends when I was your guys' age, like, they're kind of forced friends, meaning, like, they were on my sports team, they were in my class, so it wasn't always like I chose my friends. It was just kind of like, hey, they're the people around me. But I remember when I was in high school, that's kind of when I was like, okay, I need to be intentional with who I'm choosing, because that's really, like, when I realized, okay, man, if I'm not intentional with this, then my relationship with the Lord isn't going to be put first, so I don't know. Top qualities is so hard because it's like, I can give you 100 qualities. One that just came to mind was I want to hang out with someone that isn't too cool for others, because then they're just like a prideful person if they're too cool to hang out with others. So that just kind of came to mind right away out of the list of a bunch of things.
Word.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, Shar, when you talk about those 4 people and how sometimes those 4 people, you get around those people, those forced friendships that, hey, maybe they're not the best people in your life. And how do you deal with those people? How do you deal with people that maybe, like, our culture would call them toxic? How do you deal with those toxic friendships?
Okay, what I think is important, though, is the word toxic is thrown out all the time now. I throw it out around my cleaning products, around the food you eat, around people. But the word toxic, like, actually means poisonous. So you can't just call another person a toxic friend just because you don't like them or they, like, confronted you about sin or they wear different clothes than you. Toxic literally means that they're, like, causing poison to your life. They're probably someone who they're typically the victim in things. It's very one-sided in that relationship. They're someone that's very draining. They're unsupportive of you. So it's that kind of friendship, not just how the culture throws that word out. And so the Bible actually talks about how we should stay away from toxic people and those types of relationships. So if you find yourself stuck in a toxic relationship, I would first find an adult or a mentor, your small group leader, someone on staff, and talk to them to find out, is this like a toxic relationship that I have with someone, or is this something that we're just throwing that word out, and then go from there. Honestly, I think that's the first step if you're stuck with that. And then also pray for that person. Just because someone's toxic doesn't mean you like throw them and kick them under the bus. You still are called to love them, pray for them, even if that means you have to do it from a distance.
I had a toxic friend in high school, and she was one of my best friends. And it sucked because I was in a friend group with her that was unavoidable. So it wasn't like I could break up with her as my best friend and be like, you're gross, and I don't like you, and you are mean. I had to continue being in that circle because I literally had nowhere else to go. You're at school. You're kind of like in like friendly prison. And so like it was really hard, but that's where I learned like I can be in a circle with someone and not engage with them. I don't need to pursue them. And if they want to reach out and be like, hey, you want to come over and do a sleepover if you want to hang out or any of those things, like, yeah, I can do that. But I'm also going to invite some other friends along that I know are for me and that can encourage me and that I can depend on, as opposed to like, okay, well, I'm just going to sit here and I'm forced into this like friendship that I can't get away from. And then as soon as we graduated, I was like, peace out. So sometimes you just have to wait it out and do the best with what you got.
Totally. I think it was harder because you also were in a small school where.
Yeah,
if
I
you
went to
would-
Tri-City, so there was like 30 people in my class.
If you would have not been her friend, you
I
would have
had
seen her
for sure.
every day.
few choices.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
few choices. Hey, but out of one of them, I picked my husband. So
Wow.
Gold Star Tri-City.
Dang. That's awesome. Yeah, thanks, guys. You'll hear me say this again. I say this to my guys all the time. The most important decision you guys make right now is who you decide to be friends with.
Yep.
That is
Yes.
the most important decision you will make right now.
Word.
Because you will be the average of those 4 friends. So if you want to be around 4 idiots, you'll probably be the 5th. But if you want to be around 4 people, I said, that's me. All right, no one be friends with him. But if you want to be around 4 loving Christians, I'm kidding. I love you. If you want to be around 4 loving Christians, guess what? A lot of times, you'll probably be the 5th, okay? So now let's get a little nerdy, okay? Because some of these questions in here are smarter than something I could ask. But maybe I'll just put it like this. How in the world do we even know God exists? Where can we find the proof?
No.
You can't prove the Bible with the Bible.
At Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Yes,
At Chick-fil-A.
at
No,
Chick-fil-A.
for real.
So, yeah, but that's more of like proving the Bible, you know?
Oh, this is just with God.
Yeah, so if we're
Okay,
just talking
just
about
kidding.
Chick-fil-A is if you prove the Bible and you're like, what are you talking about? So if you take the acronym Chick-fil-A potato waffles, that's all you need to know, and I'll give you a handout later. It tells you all the things that you need that can prove the Bible. Like the C is for copying, how they copied the Bible. The F is for facts. The facts in the Bible, guys, you can prove it with history. There's archaeology, which means you dig stuff up from the ground, like the walls of Jericho, where all the walls came down except for one, because that was Rahab's house, because she had a red cord sticking out there. Yeah, they found a place where all the walls of a city like fell outward and all that stuff, you know. So it's proven. They dig up stuff, they prove it. That's the A in Chick-fil-A. P is for prophecy, things of the Old Testament that were prophesied actually came through in the New Testament. And then the W is for witnesses, the eyewitnesses that everyone saw, like Jesus and all the things he did, to the point where all the disciples were like, kill me, upside down, flayed, thrown, stoned, boiled in oil. All of that happened. They died for it. And like, if it was a lie, they would have been like, I'm just kidding. Don't kill me. But they were like, it's the truth. I witnessed it. And then they died. So boom, Chick-fil-A potato waffles. That's how you prove the Bible.
Wow.
I can give you a handout on that later. Just remember that. That's all
Drop
you
the
need to
mic.
know.
Let's leave right now.
That's for
That
the
was good.
Bible. But here's the thing. You can
messed
prove
up.
this stuff in the Bible, but how do you know that God exists? Like God. Like the Bible's true, but it's like, what about God? How do we know he's real?
Well, the Bible does say, or Paul says that we have no excuse, that we should be able to just look at creation and know that there's a God. So just right there, it's talking about we have no excuse. So no one has an excuse. The world is too complex. It fits together too perfectly. It makes too much sense. And so it's the universe is crying out for a creator. It's crying out for a designer. And so just that alone is enough evidence there. But there is a way you can dig deeper and get really, really hardcore. I don't know if you guys, Shara, I know that you have an acronym for that too, right?
No, I don't have an
How
acronym
many
for that one.
acronyms?
She has a lot of acronyms. Not for this
I
one.
don't.
She had this cool acronym.
I had Chick-fil-A potato
So,
waffles, but
Went
maybe
up
it's a
right now.
McDonald's one. But no, but I like
There-
what you said about designer. Like if you're walking through a forest and you found a watch on the ground there and you picked it up, you wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, this just suddenly appeared from an explosion randomly. You'd be like, no, who made the watch? Or if you found an iPhone, you'd be like, okay, Steve Jobs, that's his name, right? And Steve
Yeah.
Jobs?
He died.
Yeah, he died. Okay,
Yeah.
but he designed it. So
The original one.
the original one, So when you look at yourself, like your mind, your body, creation, everything around it, it begs the question, this design that's so complex, like our brain is more complex than any supercomputer in the entire world could ever be.
Yes.
It's like, who designed it? Well, there is a designer. It points to God. And there's like there's a ton of arguments that are really philosophical and have fancy words that prove there's an existence of God. So
Yeah. I mean, I will say as you get into the higher levels of philosophy, you would think the smarter you get, the more they've debunked God. Actually, the higher levels they get, the more there is evidence that supports there is a God. There's a guy, Alvin Plantinga, that's one of the most brilliant minds in the world. He has brought up arguments that no one's been able to refute or been able to disprove. In fact, he has brought up arguments that other philosophers that were against God started to go, oh, dang it, maybe there is a God. Because you can reason there is a God.
Yeah, and I don't want any of us ever again to say science is stupid, because God created science.
Yep.
And the more you learn about science, the more you realize there is a God. So we might get bored in some science classes, but I think we'll appreciate it later, because a lot of it is actually going to help give us confidence in our faith.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
Christian.
No, that's okay.
Yes.
I didn't like science either. I always got
If you're saying that it's not your favorite subject, that's totally fine.
that's all good.
I didn't like science
You can like
either.
recess. Recess is the best.
PE was my favorite.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. But guys,
PE.
Yeah, Explorer at Roosevelt.
yeah.
Explore?
Drew and
That's what
played
it's
with Legos.
called?
Wait, what was your guys' favorite subject?
Yeah, Explore.
What was your guys' favorite subject?
In middle school, it was PE.
PE.
And then I
Yeah.
TA'd for PE, so
then
that
you
was the best.
Yeah.
You can TA for PE.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
legit.
That's
In
awesome.
high school, it was math.
It was
You're
math.
such
Yeah.
a nerd.
Dang,
I'm a math
nerd.
Nerd.
Or choir.
Mine was Bible class. I'm just kidding. I just said that because I'm standing up here now.
No, I'm kidding.
I
It's
like
recorded.
books.
Boo the Bible.
What was yours?
Yearbook.
Yearbook. Oh, that's a good one.
Yearbook was awesome.
That makes sense.
Because the yearbook, you're done in April
And then you just
or end
chill.
of March. And then we played Grand Theft Auto the rest of the time.
Wait.
In our high school class.
Oh boy.
Wait, were you in yearbook?
What?
Were you in
I was
year-
in yearbook.
Wait.
I was in yearbook too.
I was never in your book
He was never in yearbook.
Dang. That's crazy.
because I
Guys,
was in
so
choir.
basically, pay attention in science.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay.
Moving on.
So if we're
All right.
going back to this conversation of the God that exists, then why does this God let the world become evil?
So if there's a God, why is there
Ah.
evil?
If there's a God that is all sovereign, that is all knowing, why does he let us make bad choices?
Yeah. Well, it all comes down to the beginning in Genesis. In the Genesis, when God created, he said he gave us a choice. He decided to give us a choice to make our own mistakes. And so there's evil in this world because of the mistakes we make, is really what it comes down to. It's not God allows it. God allows us to make choices. Those choices have consequences. And because he decided to say, I want to give you this idea of free will that you can make choices, means there's going to be evil in the world. That's like a simple term, but
Yeah, can everyone touch their nose real quick? And touch their ears and their shoulders and the cup? I'm just kidding, there's no cup. But touch your body. Okay, you do not feel like a robot, right? You feel like a human being. If we were robots, we'd be forced to make a decision. And I don't think God would be loving if we were forced to do everything. I think.
Yeah, I love
Yep.
that.
It's true.
Yeah.
He gives us the choice to love or to not love. And so because of that, sin entered the world because they choose to disobey him, to not love him
Yeah.
with following his commands. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But I love the quote, too, of God is not like the author of our pain, but he refuses to waste it. So, like, there's going to be, like, evil and hardship in this world. And it's not like, okay, God caused that because of free will and sin now in this world, things happen. But he has a plan. It says he works the good for those who love him. So,
Also, when we chose, the collective we, ate the fruit in the garden and invited death into this world, that means everything is on a trajectory of decay and death. So the reason why we feel so uncomfortable with death, it's always untimely. No one's ever like, oh, good, it was about time they died. You know, like no matter how someone dies, it's always tragic, it's always a loss, because we were not intended for death. That was not a part of God's plan, but when we chose to eat of that fruit, we welcomed that into this world, and we all have to die somehow. So how is that going to be? It's always going to be some sort of loss or tragedy and something that we don't want, but that's because we weren't meant for it.
Yeah, and when it comes to death and decay, something that always breaks my heart when I hear students and friends talk about it is they come up with me and go, Braden, I'm dealing with so much anxiety. I think I'm dealing with depression right now. What would your guys' responses be to that? Of someone that goes, hey, I'm feeling anxiety. Hey, I'm feeling depressed. How in the world can I cope with that? How do I respond to this?
okay, well, first of all, I think, we don't talk about that much. I think the topic of mental health is like a big buzz in culture right now too, and like as a church, we should be talking about it more. But like, first of all, if you're struggling like with mental health, know that it's normal and you're like not alone. And in fact, your generation is struggling with it more than kind of any other generation because of just the world, social media, and stuff that's going on. But it's normal. Like your body's changing a lot. We've gone through this weird years of COVID. Like it's normal to be struggling mentally and emotionally. And so just know you're not alone. But I would encourage you that like if you're struggling with anxiety, depression, or just even feeling off mentally, like go seek out someone that you can trust. And I would say like two types of people. One, like a friend that can be supportive and check in on you, but then also an adult, like a small group leader, or even like a counselor, someone that can talk to you and reassure you and walk through the process with you. But to have someone like a peer, but then someone older, I think that's huge and very helpful.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. I dealt with depression, like looking back on it, I 100% dealt with the depression in junior high. And one, you guys are really lucky that it's something that people discuss, that it's even like a word you're allowed to use now, because when I dealt with an issue in middle school and my parents found out, it was like, no, we don't do that in this family. And we're also not going to support you. And it wasn't because they didn't love me, it's because they felt uncomfortable. And even now I know that there's parents that are like, yeah, I don't think that's real, or maybe you just need to eat better, or maybe there's like a million other answers, but I'm also not going to validate you. And that's where I think it's really cool that we can have small group leaders, people who choose to be in your life, who show up regularly, who are here for you, because you might not have parents that want to put you in counseling. You might not want to have parents that want to take you to the doctor and see what's going on. But if you are genuinely dealing with something like that, you know what? The Lord gave you people in your life. So maybe look around and see who you can lean on and who you can like really have support you and encourage you. But if you can, 100% go to counseling. Let's make counseling cool. Okay? Let's all do that.
Yeah, and I want to let you know something that just if you are dealing with that, honestly, the only ones that can help are counselors mostly. And so if you are hoping your friend is going to solve it, or you're hoping that a small group leader is going to solve it, they're not. Now, they can be there to support you, to love you through it, to hold your hand through it, but they're not going to be the ones that can solve it. I'm telling you right now, the only way is going to be, well, ultimately, there's only one person that can solve it, and that's God. And we need to rely more on him. But if that's not working, the only one that can help you is going to be you going to real help, and that is one that can maybe has the right questions answered, the way to walk you through it, but also maybe even medically like the right medications to help you on that. And so just reminding you that, hey, if you're putting that all on your friend, you're making it hard on them because they can't really help you. They can only be there to support you and go, I love you. Hey, I'll go with you to the appointment, whatever. Friends, that what we can do. But other than that, like, we need to make sure, and I think some of us, we are reaching out to them. And I'm going to say a bold thing. If you're not going to the only people that can help you and you're only reaching out to your friends, it makes me wonder if you really want help. Because we now know what to do. Now, I will tell you this, come to me, and if your parents are like, we don't think that's a problem, we're not going to pay for it. Come to me. I'll do whatever I can, and I'll now become your parent in that role and get you the help if I have to. But if you're putting it all on your friends, now I think it is like, why? Why aren't you going to the right people? But your friends should be there to walk through. And I know that's kind of bold to kind of say that, but you need to go to the right people that are going to help you, and there are people that can help you get through it.
I love that.
And so,
Trav. Yeah, I love
okay.
that. I think I want to piggyback something off Shar said real fast. It's about social media. Guys, would we just be super weary of how much screen time is going on in social media? Because I think that's one of the biggest causes of our anxiety and of our depression is because we're constantly comparing lifestyles
Yes.
with someone else. And it's crazy how it gives us FOMO, fear of missing out, but it's also addicting because it gives our brains dopamine levels, which is the same thing that like the best fun times in our life like exist. So it's this weird thing where we have so much anxiety and depression in our culture. But man, how many of us, our screen times are 6 hours a day, and we see most of it on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok? Guys, that's my warning for you guys. Just be weary of the time you spend on social media.
Yep.
Just be super weary of that.
Yep.
I think another thing we have to be super weary of in church is, and even I'm curious about this, is as I grow into my Christianity and as I become a more mature Christian, is what does the Bible say about the LGBTQ plus community? And maybe can someone be in the LGBTQ plus community and still be a Christian?
Yeah, I mean, the Bible talks about how God created man and woman met for each other. The Bible also talks about how we are called to love and love everyone. I would hope that a person in the LGBTQ community would feel very comfortable here at JH78. I would hope that they don't feel ostracized. The Bible is clear that practicing homosexuality is a sin, but all sexual immorality is a sin. And for some reason, we like isolate that one and we judge those people when you might be watching pornography, when you might be lusting after someone yourself. So yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so much more judgment toward toward that community when a lot of us should look at ourselves and examine our own sexual immorality. But even calling it sexual immorality in our culture is like, wow, Taylor, you're being so judgmental, or you're being, whatever. But I think it's loving for us to call out the sin because God created us a certain way to experience joy. And anytime we say, hey, we think we can do it this way, then I think there's a lack of, great, full experience that the Lord has for us. So those are initial thoughts. There's a lot more that could be said, but.
I love what you said about, hey, why don't we examine our own selves? I think that's a huge part of it because this sin word, the root word of it, it's amartia. It's missing the mark. It's an archery term. So every single time we go to shoot something at an archery range and we go for bullseye, it doesn't matter if we missed it by a little bit or we missed it by a lot of it. Guys, we missed it. We missed it. And the Bible will tell us just one sin causes us to go to hell. And man, I feel like we need to do a better job at loving those community because, guys, that community struggles with the same sin that you and I do, which is just sin. I don't know, do any of you guys have more to add to that?
I'd love to say another quote that we use here at North Coast a lot is the opposite of heterosexuality isn't, or the opposite of homosexuality isn't heterosexuality, it's holiness. So no matter where you are, what your attraction are, what your sin is, like God says, hey, I'm calling you to be holy, which means different, set apart. And so when you put that in perspective, it goes back to what Taylor was saying, like no matter like what your sin is, where you're struggling sexually, whether that's with attraction to the same gender, attraction to the opposite gender, pornography, lust, any of those things, you're called to be holy, to be different, to glorify God, because he's the one who created the earth, designed it, and he's the one who got to say how it's to be designed. And faith is trusting him enough to do what he says. And that's going to be harder for others. It's for some of us who might struggle with the same, like interaction with the, attraction to the same gender. It's more of like asking God, how do I still be obedient to you when I'm attracted to the same gender? And the same question is, hey, how do I be obedient to you when I'm attracted to the opposite gender? And how do I be holy? And so it's looking at that through that lens, is like you can have the attraction to the same gender, to the opposite gender, and still be a Christian by choosing to honor and obey God. I mean, we have people on our staff who are same-sex attraction, but they said, hey, you know what? Just because I'm attracted doesn't mean I'm going to go and act on that, because God says that would be a sin. And so they choose to lay that down. And it makes me sad, because in their life they might never be in a deep relationship. They might never have a marriage, because they're choosing to be holy over what they want, what their desires are. And so I would love to like know more from God and ask more of like why is it that way? But he's God and he designed it, and that's our call, is to be faithful and obedient to him.
I mean, another step. I keep hearing, does God still love people that are struggling with that? Hey, can you still go to heaven? And the Bible is clear. It says in Romans 8:38, pretty much he's saying nothing can separate us from the love of God. And so there is this thing, is there isn't too much you can do that all of a sudden God can't forgive you and allow to have a relationship with you. The issue is that God does want us to know who's Lord of your life. And so there needs to be that change. But there isn't like, look at my past, even look what I messed up last week. It's God can forgive anything. There's nothing that's going to separate us from his love. But the issue will be, is he does say, who do you call me? Do you call me Lord? And once you call him Lord, that means he wants you to start following him. And so there does need to be a change, but there is that separation there. And there's something else that is crazy, that for some reason we think we deserve to be happy in this world. And I think we deserve to be happy, but I think the problem is we don't understand what really makes us happy, because I will tell you right now, nothing in this world is ever going to make you happy. It talks about in 1 John that we were designed for this long, and if we're going to live in this world, we think there's 3 things in this world that are going to make us happy. And there's such a lie from Satan. And those 3 things are that things will make us happy, that we're going to want what other people have, that if we're just better than everyone, and this pride issue, we struggle with these things. But here's the thing, is there's only one person that can truly make us happy. There's only one that can really, truly bring us this peace that surpasses all understanding, and that's Jesus Christ. And so we keep longing for happiness when the only one that can truly make us happy is Jesus. And so I hear that all the time, but I thought he wants me to be happy. Yes, because he's the one that can bring happiness. And so I think when we're longing for happiness and we're trying to be complete, if it's not following after Jesus Christ and we're trying other things in our mind, then we're never, ever going to be happy. We're never going to be fulfilled, because it's going to come back to Jesus Christ, the only one who can do that. And I'm telling you, I've done a lot of amazing things in my life, but none of them have ever made me happy or fulfilled me. Only Jesus Christ has. So,
Wow. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Hey, can we give a round of applause for our panel?
yeah.
Guys, I hope you learned something today. What a good word. My encouragement for you guys is, whether it comes to those rough friendships, whether it comes to people that have different lives than you or a different point of view, would we be people that act like Jesus, and would we love in the acceptance of others and not sometimes in the agreement of others? Because I just think that's one of our best calls we can do. So let's pray. Father God, I thank you for just being a God that we can still question and still follow at the same time. God, thank you for letting us wrestle with who you are. God, thank you for giving us the ability to choose to love you and the ability to choose not to love you. And I pray that these students would have seeds planted into them that would grow into these great oak trees of just, man, I want to live for Jesus. I want to be bold, and I want to be brave, and I want to become dangerous like Paul. To live as Christ, to die as Christ. And we all said, amen.